Now it's time to take a look at the classic track Money for Nothing from the album Brothers in Arms. And I remember hearing this track for the first time on a school trip in 1985 and thinking, that is a cool riff. I want to learn that riff. Has to be one of the music shop riffs though, the do not play this in a music shop along with Smoke on the Water. And like Smoke on the Water and Fall for Your Loving, it's based around the G minor pentatonic playing in either fourths or fifths. Now the unusual thing about this riff, a bit like the old Michael Schenker riffs from UFO, we actually use the wah-wah pedal as a tone control. And I suppose that you could experiment with one of the auto cue pedals so that you could turn the pedal on and always have it set in that fashion to give you that very exaggerated wah tone. But I'm using just my wah-wah pedal, kind of cocked halfway, not too nasally, not too bright, adding a little bit of overdrive onto the sound. I'm on the crunch channel of my amp, but I'm also adding in a little bit of crunch with the boost pedal here, no compression, and I'm kind of emulating a bit of room echo, which is very apparent. There's like a gated reverb on the drums and on the guitar on the original. If you hear me striking the strings, you can just hear a very, very short sounding reverb there. Okay, let's move on now to the actual riff itself. And this track is very, very long, the album version. And obviously the album version features the guest intro and microwave oven sections, courtesy of Sting from The Police, who also guested with Dire Straits when they performed at the first Live Aid concert back in 1985. This track was originally recorded and performed on a Gibson Les Paul. And I would imagine, I don't know this for certain, so please don't kill me, I'd imagine it would have been some kind of Marshall amplifier or Soldano. I know that Mark Knopfler liked using those two amplifiers, either very British or American sound. So I've opted to use my humbucker guitar, and I've got the guitar set in the bridge pickup. I've backed off a little bit of the tone as well, just to take a little bit of bite off of the front end of the note. As with all of the tunes that we're looking at, we've got to play this track using using fingers without a pick. There, nearly caught me out. And it's one of those tracks where you have to kind of keep constant notes going. Even when you let a chord ring, there'll be some other note kind of jumping in somewhere to always keep the constant rhythm moving. As I mentioned, the track is very long, so what I'm going to do is basically break this down into a few sections, and then it's over to you. I can't see the point of going through and teaching every single little glitch in this riff. I know full well it would never be played the same way twice. As long as you've got the basic structure of the riff and the two different riff sections, I think then that's okay. First of all, we have the intro riff, which occurs throughout the track. And this riff is obviously at the intro. The outro section is also using the same kind of riff. And during the outro, there's little licks as well based around G minor pentatonic. Again, every so often a few little bending licks, but I'm going to leave that up to you to put those in as and when. Then we have the main verse. The first part of the verse is slightly different to the second half of the verse. And then we have the microwave oven section, as I like to call it, which is the chorus. And this is pretty much the same throughout. So just to get things kicked off, just one other thing that I should mention, there is a little chord bit during the intro when you've got all the drums going off and all the keyboards, which is just this. Very straightforward little guitar fill there, which is 5 on the A and the D, and then we've got 3 on the A and the D, slide up to 5 on the A and the D, and then restrike that and slide up to 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you cut the notes off when you slide up to the second part of the riff. Okay, I'm going to play through the intro, which is basically after the big kind of crescendo drum fill and the little kind of high keyboard part. And this is before the whole band kicks in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's a few little harmonics in various places. I'm not sure how intentional those harmonics are. I think it's basically from the way that Mark Knopfler plays. He's very rhythmical with his right hand, you know, keeping little rhythmic slaps going on. And if he's laid his fingers across the strings at any given point, he could hit a harmonic. The cool thing is that a lot of the times when he hits those, they're very much in key with the pentatonic scale. So we start off with a G5 on the 5th fret D and the 7th fret G, so it's... Then we drop down to a C5, which is 5 on the D and the G, and then back up to the G5, and then we add a... we add the 6th fret of the B string, and then we play 5 on the D string. So it's, so you add up with that C sus chord. Then we play the G5 again, and then we play the C5 on the D and the G at the 5th fret. Then down to a B flat at the 3rd fret, and then open D, and then open G and D. So it's... And then the next part of the riff starts with a mute, and then open G and D, and then 3rd fret D and G, and you kind of pull your fingers away and play the D and the G string twice, and then we're going to play a B flat on the 1st fret A and the 3rd fret D, and slide that up to C, and then we're going to play C on the D and the G strings at the 5th fret, then down to B flat on the 3rd fret D and G, and then open D and G. So you get this. Then the next part of the riff, we start off with a harmonic on the 5th fret of the D, which is played there. Okay, and we start off with now for that, you play the harmonic, and then the G5, and then we play the 5th fret of the D again, and then we play 5 on the D and the G, and then add 7 on the G twice, let it ring over and play 5. So it's 3 and 4 and 1, and then play 8 on the B string with our little finger, and then 5 on the D and the G, 5 on the D and 7 on the G, down to 5, down to 3 on the D and the G, open D and G twice, harmonic on the D string at the 4th, which is kind of a bit of a random one because it's an F sharp, and then we've got the open G, and pull off, actually play the G and the B string there, and the 3rd fret, and pull off to open G. And then we've got 3 on the A and the D, so it's like an F chord, and slide up to the 5 on the A and the D, so it's like a G5, and restrike. Okay, put it together, we get this. Now we're going to take a look at the next section, and I did say that I was going to keep this brief and keep this short, so I'm just going to talk through, play this riff for you and talk through it, so hopefully you should have enough variations on this riff, and then the more that you delve into the original recording, hopefully then you should start to discover some of the little ideas that Mark Knopfler adds in. Like I said, he hardly ever plays it the same way twice, so you know, we'd probably spend 2 hours going through every single variation. For those of you that are really, really interested in getting this absolutely spot on, then you can buy the Jam with Dire Straits book here at Lick Library, which is the old Total Accuracy books that we used to put together before we did Lick Library, and it's transcribed by myself. And most of the tunes that we're looking at today, apart from Calling Elvis, are featured on this book and CD project. So if you're, if you get the basic idea but you want to go further, then make sure you visit www.licklibrary.com, where you can get yourself a copy of the Jam with Dire Straits book and CD package. If not, if like me, incredibly lazy, who just likes to, I like to just get the riff down. Okay, I've got the riff, now I'm going to play it. I don't want to sit there and nail every single little nuance unless it's totally vital to the tune. Then stand by and we're going to take a look at one more version of the riff. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty much the same again. Starts off though with a little harmonic on the 5th. Quite hard to get those actually. Maybe I probably do with a little bit more gain, or maybe by moving the position of the wah-wah pedal to get a slightly brighter top end. So, and then we've got the G5 down to the C5, then the C sus, play the 5 on the D, then the G5, C5, and we play the C5, but split it up, so we get. And so you play the G and the D at the 5th, and then play the 5 on the D, and then drop down to the 3, open D, and then open G and D, mute, open G and D, and then the 3rd fret, and then to open, and then slide up a B flat chord, B flat 5 chord, up to C5 and restrike it, down, and then open G and D, then another harmonic, and then the G5. So then we've got our, so for that we hold the G5, restrike the 5 on the D, 5 on the D and the G, now the G5 twice, and then 5 on the D, 8 on the B, and then strike the G5, pull off your 3rd finger, down to 3 on the D and the G, open D and G, and now we've got a G, 3 on the D and the G, D string twice, and then slide 3 on the A and the D up a whole tone, and then restrike and add some vibrato. Here's that riff nice and slowly for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to take a look at the first section of the verse. Basically, you can break the verses into 2 parts. It's kind of, the first part's kind of a little bit more subdued, and then the second part is more like the riffs that we've seen during the intro section. So here's the first part of the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now sometimes it's a little more rhythmical than that, but like I said, it's a little bit more subdued. We start with this little harmonic, again, that's not compulsory, and we've got an open D and G, some mutes, open D and G, and then we add the third finger on the D and, the first finger on the third fret of the D and the G. And sometimes I'm playing very subtle notes in between, so that kind of thing. So it's quite groovy sounding, but sometimes you haven't got it's not as obvious with the power of the note. So I'm, not always doing that kind of thing. You're kind of walking the finger and thumb across the D and the G. That kind of feel. It's hard for me to put into words apart from just actually play, which maybe I should do. So one more time, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the next little section is a mute, and then open D and G, third fret, open D and G, B flat 5 up to C5, and then play the C5, and then we got, which is C5 on the D and the G to open D and G, and then we got an open D, and then that's just really playing between the B flat chord and the open D and the G. So it starts on a D, and then an open G5, arpeggiate, and then the next bar, and then we finish off the section with this little lead guitar break, which is 3 on the D, 3 on the G, 5 on the A, 5 on the D. So if I play that section for you slowly, here we go. 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to play for you the second half of the first verse, where the guitar kind of kicks up a little bit, and this riff is a little bit more like the introduction riff, except we got a slightly different fill at the end here. So I'm just going to play through the riff for you, and then I'm going to explain what the little lick is at the end. But again, when you see me and hear me play through this on the playthrough, I probably won't play it always the same as this. It's kind of how you feel. I'm trying to stick as closely to the way that Mark Knopfler played it, but I checked out my transcription of the original recording. I checked out the footage of him on Live Aid, and it's always played different. So it's just, as long as you're getting the changes at the right point, that's the main thing. All the mutes and the other little bits in between are just kind of incidental, the kind of icing on the top of the cake. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I play pretty much the same riff throughout. Now this little section, we play 3 on the G, down to 2 on the G, to open G, and then we play 3 on the D, and then we just play the D and the G strings 4 times. So you got